then really when I first found it, like 07, 06, something like that, I had just got on, and it was very grassroots military law enforcement. Like it wasn't CrossFit Games yet.
I remember watching you on the Facebook and stuff. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, man? This is some crazy shit.
So you got to ask yourself, why do you want to do this? What keeps you motivated to stay proactive and get bad guys off the street?
The facts is a big cannon against a little tiny gun of opinions, because we've all heard people give us their opinions.
Let's talk about how easy it is to get narcotics in this country. Once they're in this country, anywhere within 2 days, the drugs will be in our cities.
Because we know knowledge is power.
All right, today we're going to start a podcast or have a podcast with Mattingly and Shefferly and Mike. We've previously recorded with Mattingly and Shefferly. Mike wasn't there, so I'll let him do a lot of talking today and more sit back and just BS and have a conversation about whatever the fuck we want to talk about.
Cool. That was good.
All right. No direction, so we'll just jump right into it. What are we going to talk about? Nothing? You want me to leave this?
It's your show.
Oh,
You said Mike was going to talk.
I thought I know.
We're all kind of waiting on.
Well, that's what I looked at him. All right.
So when we bullshit a little before this, and we talk about fitness and just our overall shape as police officers. So what are you guys' feelings on, or can you tell us how you started, why it became so important into part of your careers, and what you've progressed to doing with fitness and training and stuff like that?
I'll let Adonis here start.
So as far as like fitness being important for the job itself, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
So like I actually remember, like, we played football together, but I remember getting to my senior year thinking, man, what am I going to do after this? Like, obviously I ain't going to the NFL. Like, this is small college football, right? It's like, what am I going to do? And then I started thinking about like jobs and stuff. And this had already crossed my mind, like, oh, this that would be a cool thing to do, And then we talked about that last time, like why you get into the job. And I was like, it just fit well. I was like training for football. Like, it was always one of my favorite things about it was getting ready for the season.
So from the beginning of your law enforcement career, you were still training, and this was always part of it.
Yeah.
Okay,
just trying to figure out different ways to do it. Because to me, I look at it, it's like, well, this is a performance-driven career. Like, you have to have physical performance on this job. So how can you continue to train and get better for it? And to me, it's always like, boy, you lift weights, you get strong, you get fast. Like, that kind of covers all your bases for everything, Yeah. So, and then that kind of just propelled me into the academy. And then we've got a top fitness award that we give. I don't know if you guys do that at your agencies, but for our academy.
Our academy.
Yeah. So our academy. Yeah.
Our academy.
So the academy, we get so I won that. And then I think it was kind of just expected, like, oh, hey, you're the fitness guy from your class. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to get super fat and out of shape now. Like, I don't want to, I have this title, I guess, or this, and then getting into CrossFit. And then really when I first found it, like 07, 06, something like that, I had just got on, and it was very grassroots military law enforcement. Like, it wasn't CrossFit Games yet.
I remember watching you on the Facebook and stuff. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, man? This is some crazy shit.
No, that was before CrossFit. No, I remember in college, though, like talking to Fuller. Actually, he's a cop now too, and saying, dude, after I graduate, this was like junior year or something like that, like, I don't think I'll ever do a power clean again. And telling that to Schreffler too. And then fast forward like 5 years, I'm competing in the CrossFit regionals and power clean more than I did in playing football. So
that's all.
Well, I'm not that. Okay. That out of the way. I've always enjoyed working out, played sports growing up. So like you said, it just kind of translated into it. Part of mine's for vanity. I'll be honest, 52. So I want to stay as relevant as you can and young. But I've had my ups and downs, like work out for a while, then take a break, get injured. And then all of a sudden there's your excuse to not do it for a while. It's hard to get back in that groove. But I think the main thing with the physical part in policing is it's a mental thing, because if you're not training your body, you're probably not training your mind either, because I was constantly going through scenarios my entire career, because we had a sergeant on our department who was in training. He was a black guy, played college football, You know, he was always in shape. The way he carried himself was just different than a lot of guys. His uniform was sharp, everything. So I watched him, and in the academy, one of the things he taught us was, if you get in a situation, because he'd been in shootings and stuff, he said, you're never out of the fight. And that's a training thing. You've got to constantly train your mind that. And if you train your body along with your mind, they go hand in hand. And when you're in those situations, training does kick in. You know, it's you hear that over and over, but until you're in one of those crazy shit hits a fan instances, you just go back to your training. And physically, if you're not there, I mean, I know it helped me on my shooting, so I'm grateful I stayed with it.
Do you think the sport correlation to law enforcement is something that is pretty prevalent? Like, I see a lot of people that were either athletes in high school or college or whatever, and just the transition from that to being a cop. But why? I don't know. I see a lot of guys that fall off and stop working out. So is it just your own motivation inside? Like, why are some people sticking to working out when they get in there, and some are just like, you know what, I'm fit now, but I'm no longer doing it?
I think some of it comes to lifestyles, as far as we get over committed on bills. And so then those guys are working overtime and off duty so much, and they got family life, they got all these commitments. And so what's the easiest thing to get rid of? Your workout. Even though it's a very small part of your day, 45 minutes to an hour, you know, it's real easy to put that on the back burner and go, I'll do it later. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do a double dose, you know, whatever, because I'm busy. I got to work this extra shift because I got to pay that bill that's coming up. And I think a lot of that's lifestyle. We just kind of get away from it. At least that's been my experience.
No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Do you think? Yeah,
but I do see, I mean, there was a ton of athletes on the police department, that military. You saw those two integrate a lot. And it seemed like the guys and gals that weren't that, it was just different to work with them. You know, the guys that never had that camaraderie with team or military, they kind of did their own things. It was really weird.
Yeah, I see that a lot with the military and sports. It's just the way we joke. I feel like
the dark humor.
Yeah. It transitions from sports. We make fun of our buddies. We make fun of them when they do something good or bad. Kind of transitions to law enforcement, and you can kind of see the military kind of falls into that same line when they're cops. But the cliques within departments, you can tell that like athletes, military guys, and then or girls, and I don't know the other group. I don't know. I don't know what they fall. Yeah, I don't know what they fall into. But there's a pretty clear divide, and I think a lot of that has to do with that, like the dark humor, the comedy, making fun of people, like making fun of yourself, making fun of your best friend, like
self-deprivation is the best.
Yeah,
if you can do that, I can handle anything anybody else throws at me.
Yeah.
You ever hear Jordan Peterson talk about the dude Lunch Pail from one of his first books?
I've heard him talk. I don't know about this.
Long story short, he's when he was working for the railroads in Canada, this dude came on and they would make fun of him for his lunch pail, and he was very sensitive and he didn't like it, and he ended up like not doing well on the job because he couldn't take that humor, he couldn't take the ribbing and stuff, and he said that like that's part of initiation into groups like that, because if you can't handle being made fun of, if you can't handle the fact like, you know, we're going to make fun of each other, dog on each other for whatever reason, call each other names, if you can't handle that, like, I know I can't handle it. Like, you can't handle it when there's a stressful situation, like when there is a shooting, or if I get shot, I know I can't handle it. You can't handle it, you know, because you couldn't handle me calling you.
It's because your emotions get involved.
Right.
You know, if you let emotions take over, I got offended or I'm whatever, you're not going to be able to handle it.
And that's like the lowest level of stress that we're probably going to deal with. Like, you walk in and
just a jab here and there.
Yeah.
People,
Yeah, exactly. And if you can't handle the lowest level, and maybe that's why we're kind of go together or mesh together, is because
we test each other.
Doing it for years.
Yeah,
we did it from time we were little kids starting sports, or definitely in the military. You just jabbed on each other the whole time.
It's funny. I was just talking to my wife about this yesterday because, you know, we got a big group of friends that are outside of law enforcement. That's my core. I didn't hang out with a bunch of guys on the police department. I just didn't. I wanted to keep it separated from my life. And it was a benefit in the end when I went through the shit I did, because, you know, they were all busy. They didn't have time to check in on me, and they were just crazy busy. So, but I was talking about it because there's a lot of females in that group. And I'm like, man, you all would not be able to survive, because they get butthurt over some stuff. I'm like, y'all wouldn't be able to survive the police department. So we were mean to each other. The minute we always, okay, we're going to lunch, man. Let's go. You know, so we just throw them down. You know, and it's just fun. I mean, I enjoy it. There's nothing mean about it, nothing cruel.
No.
It's just jabs.
you got to be able to take it. Like you can't be the one that's always delivering it, and then someone says something, or then you get offended or get pissed off. You got to be able to go both ways. And I think, my wife has learned very quick in our relationship. Like I make fun of everyone, and I'm like, but I make fun of myself more. Like, and I put a lot of things out there that if I do something stupid, I want everyone to know, and I want to be the one to tell you. So then you can't like really try to make fun of me. I'm like, look at what I did. Like. Fucking pictures from high school that come up. I post them on social media so no one else can do it. Like I want to make fun of myself. So then you you can use it exactly. So you can't like twist it into some other bullshit.
Just like 8 Mile.
Bobby's brother is my best friend. I guess I don't know, but I mean, like if you want to talk about a guy that like makes fun of me more than anyone in the fucking world, like my wife thought he absolutely hated me, and then when I met his wife, like as they were dating and stuff. They thought we hated each other. Like he's a dick though. Like he says a lot of dick comments, and not like, I know it's all with like love, but I mean, if you were from the outsider, you thought we were probably about to fight half the time we're talking.
I do know this. So my daughters are over now, 28, 26, and kids and married and all that stuff. I didn't know this until just a few years back, but they were like, "You are so mean the way you talk about people." And I'm like, "What? I'm the nicest guy you'll meet. I'll help anybody in the world, even if they hate me. It doesn't matter." And they're like, "No, just, you're always saying, oh, look at that." And you make comments about people. I'm like, that's just kind of what I've done for 21 years on the police department. And you do got to be careful not to carry that over because other people just don't get it. Especially, and I didn't realize I'm setting an example for my kids, but I didn't see anything wrong with it at the time, and I probably still don't. But I'm around my grandkids and my younger son, I'm a little more careful in what I say because I don't want them to be dicks,
right?
Not taken out of context how we operate, because you can't carry that over to like HR. We get destroyed in most jobs, right?
Oh yeah, we wouldn't last very long. Yeah, we would not last very long in a private sector.
Some of it, I think, is like what you described is adaptive though. Like it's adaptive definitely for what we do. Like you're talking about judging people, right? Yeah. So you see somebody, you can make it, all of us, I guarantee, can do the same thing. Like, so we see somebody walk down the street, we can probably nail down who they are, maybe what they do, and a little bit about their background and maybe hobbies, like just by looking at them for like 2 seconds. Right. And we're probably right to a tune of 90% of the time, I would say. Right. But other people don't have that. So they think you're just being an asshole. Yeah. You're judging that person. Well, I am, but I'm basing it on all these observations that I've done for years and years and years. And it's actually like, if you could learn to do it, you'd probably be better.
Yes. That's why I tell my wife all the time the same thing. She'll be like, well, why do you say that? Well, I'm like, for 12 hours a day, I drive in a car and I watch people and I see what they're doing. Yeah. And when I go to these calls and what I see, I'm like, okay, this person, I don't think it's judging them. You're just profiling what you think, that person. I guess that's judging, but
I just used the profile word.
That's on him. I'm leaving it. That's all him.
I'm looking
his comments are himself. I don't know.
Always looking at people like constantly. She's like, you just have a comment about everybody, and she doesn't get it. And she comes from the military, she just she doesn't. It's just part of our nature.
Kind of like situational awareness. Right?
Situational awareness.
Just floating through life, and we're always
I'm not doing it out of no reason. I'm actually okay. It's dread. What's going? Who's there? Let's do this.
My wife's like, just relax. I'm like, I'm relaxed. It's programmed now.
It's become normal. 20 years of this. It's just how it is. So it's funny. It's, dealing with people that don't understand it.
People always talk about like that ultra vigilant type thing, and I don't even think it is. I think once you get so far in this career, it's you're not like, it's not stressing me out that I have to watch it. I don't even realize that I'm watching or judging. Like you know what I'm saying? I'm just like
tolerance to medicine.
Yeah,
it's no different.
Yeah,
what used to be something you had to work at, now it's just who you are.
Yeah, no, I agree. Interesting.
The issue with that is it raises your sympathetic state. So it puts you in a stress load that's like, if you think a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like condition black, can't function, like we're always probably about a 5 to 7, depending in social situations. I'm speaking for myself, I guess. I'm always like a 5 to 7 socially. And if it starts climbing above that, if it starts getting like, oh man, I'm starting to get stressed out, I'm starting to get nervous, there's too many people here. I was at Disney once and I hit like an 8 or a 9 because I was at downtown Disney or Disney Springs, one of the two. Yeah, it was Florida. So it was Disney Springs, and it was really crowded. We were there like doing some bowling or something. And I just all of a sudden had this like, there's going to be an active shooter here. I don't have a gun. There's going to be a bunch of people dead. And I was like, I got to calm down or leave. Like I got to figure out how to downregulate. And, but yeah, so that vigilance, like we don't realize we're doing it because we live in it all the time. And there's probably like only one or two places that we can go to where you can like get down to like the one or two. And it's just kind of like being able to identify that in yourself, I think is pretty important.
And it's weird because I've never had social anxiety or go in big crowds and worry. I mean, I'm vigilant, but there's never that feeling what you're describing until after this event. When
Really?
you face some names everywhere and people are calling you everything.
That makes sense.
And now all of a sudden I'm in this crowd and I'm feeling this kind of tightness where I'm like having to breathe a little bit deeper, you know, like you said, kind of self-regulate and bring yourself back. And yeah, that's no fun. So now that did go, though, give me a little bit of sympathy or empathy for people who have like panic attacks or stress, because I can never understand it. Even all the stressful stuff at work, all the doors you go through, all the stuff is like, that was fun. When's the next one? You know, now I get a little bit of that tight chest. I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, okay, now I can understand where you're coming from, because my wife's more that way. And I was always like, it's okay. Just breathe. You're fine. Just change your mindset. Think something else. You'll be fine. Now I'm like, okay, I get it now a little bit.
Do you think if your face wasn't everywhere that if it was the same incident, just didn't get nationally recognized, you'd have that same, or is it just because of how, I guess,
all the
popular,
death threats, all that stuff, that changed the whole dynamics.
Yeah, for sure. I forgot to say, he also has like his master's in psychology. So when he starts talking about that shit, like,
maybe we all will. You know, it's interesting you said that, because like in 2020, which was about the same time period, right? So I didn't have that going on, but we had riots and all the same stuff that everybody did. And like my personal life was falling apart hard. And I always thought anxiety, like I went through, you know, a master's degree in psychology, and I'm like, anxiety is kind of made up. Like it's just for weak people. Dude, I couldn't function. Like I would just pace. And it was like, I can't calm down. I can't eat. I can't focus. And it was terrible. It was terrible. And it went on for like a month until I got things like organized in my life. But yeah, it's the same thing. I was like, this isn't real.
Yeah.
And then you go through it and you're like, oh, this shit's fucking real, man.
Until you can figure out how to work
and it is debilitating. It is terrible.
You don't have to answer this, but do you believe in like the medications for people that are going through like depression and things along those lines as a long-term fix, or as a short-term to get you through this might be.
So I will say, number one, I'm probably not qualified to answer that. But yeah, it's all tools. Like everything is just tools. Like if you need meds are a tool. Are they overprescribed? Yeah, probably. But like if it works for you to take the edge off, then maybe it's appropriate. If it gets you addicted to it, then maybe it's not appropriate. Like, but yeah, I don't know, man. I tried when I was going through that. I tried. What did they put me on? Some SSRIs, some basic stuff. And I didn't like it. I didn't like the way I felt. It actually made me more panicky because I didn't like it, because I didn't feel normal.
Right.
And so it didn't help me. If I would have stayed on it, if I would have just said, no, I'm going to keep pushing through, I don't think it would have been good for me.
Yeah. My doctor put me on some right thing, because when I went to her, I was like, man, I don't know what this is. I just feel this like tightness in my chest and like I'm just tense. Like I feel like I've done 1,000 crunches, right? My stomach's always just tight, like I'm ready to take punches. And she was like, well, here, we're going to prescribe you this. It's SSRI. I don't even know what it was. Well, Butrin or something. And I took it for like 6 months or a year. And I'm like, man, this is bull. I don't need it. And some people do. But I knew it wasn't the chemistry, the makeup of me for almost 50 years. So why is it all of a sudden now? So I got off of it and I feel better than I did on. I mean, it was just.
You absolutely felt the difference though, on and off?
Not a huge one, but not enough to take them. I didn't feel any positives from it.
I got you
that way.
Okay, that makes sense.
You know, maybe initially it was some kind of psychological, you know, placebo type effect. Where I thought, okay, this is helping some. But then I realized I'm feeling the same on or off. So I was like, I'm not taking it.
I had similar to Anthony's. I just didn't feel right myself. Like it helped with the emotional stuff I was going through at the time. But I just didn't feel myself, and I was weird, and it might not have been bad, but it just wasn't for me. And I was like, I told my wife, I was like, I gotta stop taking it. I'd rather be depressed and anxious and stuff without this, rather than how I'm feeling like not normal.
Well, what I found out is a lot of my symptoms were self-induced anyway, because I'd gone from working 60, 70 hours a week, being around guys all the time, to nothing. Me and the wife and the kid 24/7, and that is it's like hitting a brick wall. It's weird. I wouldn't suggest it. And so I stayed in that state, and that's what was bringing all this on. Cause then I'm constantly looking at my phone, looking at all the stuff, setting budget, all that stuff. And my wife's like, quit looking at that. I'm like, I want to know the enemy, right? That was my mindset. She just ignore it. I'm like, no, I want to know who thinks what of me. So if I ever come across paths, I know who I'm dealing with. Maybe that's right. Maybe it's wrong. I don't know, but it worked for me. And so then I found I was like, but I'm doing this same thing every day, all day. That's not productive. I'm not doing anything with my life but sitting here rotting. So once I started changing my lifestyle a little bit, all that other stuff just kind of went away.
What did you change?
Well, I had quit working out, and it was weird. I had more time than ever and zero desire to do it. Really? Yeah. I had all day to do it. I was like, man, I don't want to. Maybe that was just some funky depression at the time. I don't know. And just couch potato. I mean, just like I said, scrolling the phone, so obsessed with the case and what's going on. And finally I was like, screw this. I got to work out. I got to go fish. I got to go, do stuff that takes me out of this mindset. And that was, tomorrow I'll talk about it. It's all about decisions. Once that clicked in my mind and I made decisions, it changed everything.
He's a huge person on like, your physical fitness helps your mental fitness.
100%.
Yeah, he
Talks
talks
about
about
aching body.
Yeah, no, I
Like,
agree.
if I'm hurting,
Yeah.
when I work out, I feel better.
Yeah.
I need to rest this injury, then I'm worse. It's so weird, but if you work around it, work through it, it helps.
That's why that was one of my questions I was going to ask. Is like, you talked earlier about you got to work your mind as much as you work your body and stuff. But what's the connection between those two? Like, when you are in better shape, or do you feel mentally better? Do you get that? Is that how important?
This is what I've told my kids my whole life,
too.
and I had to finally self-apply it to me, because I always had, but at this point I was just kind of, like I said, free floating through life. And I've always told them, if you look good, you're going to feel good. If you feel good, you perform good. It's just the way it is. And I think that's physical. I think if you feel good about who you are, wherever that is in your life, then I think it puts on, you act different. I just really think you do. Because when I was getting out of shape and feeling sloppy, and mentally, that messes with you, especially if that's what you've done for so long. It's just like, ugh.
I think
I
even
don't like who I am when I look in the mirror, like, oh, what is that?
almost like as the uniform too. Like if you look at an uniform, you feel good. You feel like you're going to go do a good job. If you look like a soup sandwich, I just feel like I don't know.
Well, they've got studies on that where the bad guy sees that too.
Oh yeah. That's
and
what
he
kind of
decides instantly. As soon as you get out of the car, I can take it, dude.
Yeah,
listen to him.
Yeah,
you get out all sharp and squared away. They're like, dude, squared away. I'm going to rethink this.
Yep, that's exactly where I was going with that conversation.
Yeah. Then, the opposite. You look good, you feel good, but like, how to try and motivate yourself and do it? Like, you're Anthony, you're eating plans, your food. Like, what is that like motivation mentally to get into, to carry on and actually do that and find yourself get into these, I don't know, a pattern where that becomes beneficial to you? Because I know in our job, we could be sitting cards, you get free food at crappy restaurants and free pop and all this stuff that you got to stay away from, and then stop to try to stay in shape. Where's that mental part of that, and how do you apply that?
Well, that's like one of the number one things I get from people, either like reaching out on social media or like, signing up for a coaching program or even at my CrossFit gym. Like, how do you stay motivated? And it's like, you don't stay motivated. Like, motivation and excitement is only like it's a very fleeting thing. It's a fleeting thing. And, you got to look at it like a flywheel. And I think Mark Manson, he wrote The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. It's a great book. But he called it like the do something principle. And it's like, starts with motivation, that gives you the spark. And then it pushes you inspires you to do something. So you get motivation to inspiration, and then that cycles to action. And then those things kind of push each other. But so you go through periods of all of them, and it could be a day, it could be a week, it could be a year that you're going through this, where it's like you're motivated, you're inspired, and you take action, and then it spins that thing. And if you do that often enough, and you understand those parts of how you're feeling, and you're like, okay, I'm not motivated right now, but I'm taking actions. I know the motivation will come later. I just got to stay the course. And that kind of all reads into discipline. And you just have to kind of know and understand like how your feelings and emotions are impacting you based on your desires. And is it going to move you where you want to go or away from where you want to go? And that's that's where the work is, man. Like there's no easy way to do it. I wish there was. I wish it was be like, but that's why stuff like going to a gym, like whether it's CrossFit gym or jiu-jitsu or something where you have a group of dudes or a group of people that like, I just like going here and then making it fun. Like you can't just go on and, like, God bless dudes like David Goggins for just getting after it and stuff. Like that's great if you can do that. But I would venture to say people that like going and just embracing the suck, they just like it. They like doing it. Most people don't. And they think that it's like, well, if I can just learn to embrace the suck, then I'll be that good. It's like, maybe not. Like you might never like that. Like I love lifting weights. And if I could lift weights forever, like I did when I was 20, I would do it every day for all eternity. Right. I can't do that anymore. So like, how can I continue to be motivated to train, even though I can't do it like I did when we were in college playing football, like it's a constant evolution. So it's
my philosophy is not that deep. I simply tell myself when I don't want to do it, I've never regretted doing the right thing. I've never regretted working out. I always regret when I talk myself out of it. Right. And I don't like that feeling of woulda, shoulda, coulda. So
that's what I find. Like every day I go at 4:45 in the morning. Our Y opens up. The wife and I get up and go, because if I don't do it, then I start getting into that. I'm talking myself out of it. Yeah. Like, it's 5 o'clock now that I'm getting ready to get off, and now I got to go because I didn't go before work. And that's like, yeah, but I don't really feel like, and I just go down that hill. So I'm like, I get that out of the way first. And it's always like in my head, I'm like, you get that done, you're good to go. The rest of the day, it's all downhill from here. Yeah. And so that's just what kind of started motivating me to be there and making sure I was doing it every day. And it's not like I do any crazy workout, it's just hey, I go in, get us some, 45 minutes, an hour in, a couple 10, 15 minutes of walking on the treadmill, get my heart rate up a little bit, and I'm out. And that just starts my day here. And there's nothing better than that feeling of getting done, like, okay, now I'm ready to hit the day. And then it kind of reminds me a lot of when I was in the military, in the Army, when we do PT in the morning. That sucked getting up in the morning, going, it's dark out, you're in formation, it's cold, but you're like, yeah, that's probably the worst part of the day. It's gone. So that's all kind of what mine comes from.
That stupid thing right there, that cold plunge, is the most miserable thing, and I never want to get in it, but I feel amazing afterwards. Like I'm telling you, it is completely. It's like it's 3.5 minutes of. It's 3.5 minutes of misery, but I promise you, like whatever that does to me, like I don't think it could even be like in my head, but just getting in there and sucking it up for 3.5 minutes a day, the rest of my day's easy. It's like I have no idea what it is. We talked. I don't know what it is. It could be be complete bullshit. But it's like once it's done with, I'm like, all right, and then I can go to the gym.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I don't know. I absolutely loved it, and it's like my third one because I decided to freeze and break, and then I have to buy new ones, and that's why that comes in here now. But I usually keep it outside. With the diet, do you think your diet, eating shitty food, what is there? Maybe you can answer this, but like I've noticed if I don't eat a lot of sugars or if I don't eat a lot of fried foods and I get over that hump of not craving them, like I don't crave them at all anymore. Is there something like where your body's like mentally like, I want fucking fast food and fried foods?
I mean, I think so. Like you look at all the way foods are made, and like even this, like, all right, this has chemicals in it that are designed to taste better. Why is that? Because they sell more of them. Like you eat things that taste good. This is where anybody that says, "Well, I don't like McDonald's," like you're lying. Like it makes you feel like shit after a while. But like everybody likes a Big Mac once in a while, But it's designed to be addictive. And you even look at like the way that restaurants will pair salts and sugars and caffeine, and it's like, well, why did a combo meal appear to be fries, Coke, and a burger? Like, gee, I wonder. Like, because it's all addictive, and it activates the same pathways, to keep you buying it, So yeah, I would say yes. From a behavioral standpoint, it definitely is. Like from that's probably what I can speak on better is like the psychological aspect of just your patterns, your behaviors, and your habits going to those restaurants and doing the same things. And, then you can even break it down to McDonald's and Disney, with getting you in when you're 3 years old.
The Happy Meal.
Yeah. There's a reason they do that too. Right. They got you hooked. So.
And then I remember what I was asking. So after your shooting, could you work out physically? Or did you have to initially take some time off, and then that's how you got into like the
Well, the funny thing is, so I had great motivation to work out because I wanted to get back as quick as I could. I told my wife in the hospital, I'm like, I'm going through a door. That's the first thing I do when I go back. I'm going through a door, going through a door. And so I worked hard on my legs, right? I was riding bike within a month. I was doing different things and pushing probably harder than I should have. But I was released to go back to work like 2 months later, 2.5 months later.
Where'd you get shot? Like where in the leg?
Right here. And it went through the femoral artery. Had to have that
In
replaced.
2 months they cleared it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That seems crazy.
Probably wasn't ready. That was probably still a Canadian scar here.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, that was the motivation. Then when I couldn't go back to work, it kind of like, oh, shoot, I did all that for what? Just to.
That's crazy. So you had the initial motivation, but then when you couldn't go back to work, it was like downhill.
Wow. Kind of played some mind games with you. Then you're like, did all that for nothing. And it wasn't for nothing, but that's what you tell yourself. Yeah. You convince yourself of stupid stuff.
How much blood did you lose? Just curious.
I don't remember. It's on my medical.
Yeah, I'm not worried because
I got a blood transfusion. That's all I know. I don't know how much I lost.
And was your fitness any impact in making so that injury wasn't any worse?
Oh, I think so.
Okay.
Like we had a guy when I'd only been on like 2 years, and this guy was a big time football player, big stud dude, man, like 6'2", and arms and legs, and like in the ASP training, they bent an ASP on his leg in training because he was like, "Hard doesn't hurt," because he's a football player, taking so many hits here, it just didn't hurt him, and he got in a really bad motorcycle wreck, and it ripped off one of his legs. So they said he would be dead if it wasn't for his physical shape. He came back and was a cop for another 15 years with a fake leg.
Wow.
Chasing people. I mean, this dude was just a freak. He was definitely different after the accident. But, his one arm was smaller and the leg was messed up. But because of that saved his life and continued his career. So
that's
it plays a part.
Yeah, that's definitely impressive.
Again, but I think it goes back to those two, the physical and mental go hand to hand, because when you're pushing through in a gym hard, when you want to give up, that's when the growth takes place, right? Yeah. So you got to push through that. And when you want to quit, you just keep going. And then when you're in something on the street, it's no different. You're getting tired in a fight. What do? You just got to keep going. You just dig in and go. Same thing in critical incident. You get shot. I ain't just going to lay there and give up. You just keep pushing.
What was the time, do you know, from the time the shot to the time you got to hospital? Because you guys were kind of like...
It was long.
Yeah, I was like, you got
like 20 or 30 minutes.
So I was saying, for you being shot at, like...
The tourniquet got on quick.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I didn't have mine.
That's right. I forgot. I
had tactics.
I forgot. I listened to your audio.
Yeah, the tourniquet got on within maybe...
That's right.
30 seconds.
But then didn't the ambulance get like lost or some shit too? And
the ambulance, it took them like 6-7 minutes to get there.
Yeah,
because they kept going, throw me in the car. It was raining out. We're 20 minutes from the hospital. I knew it was amped up. I'm like, no, they'll drive 100 miles an hour, kill us and somebody else. Go through a red light wreck, something. I knew the ambulance was right there. So I'm like, just wait. Because I'd always said my whole career, because I always worked downtown or in our urban area that was close to all the hospitals. And I always I always told my guys, throw me in the car and go. But we were so far away, and I was thinking, these dudes are more amped than I was. I mean, they were like, I'm laying there giving commands to people, do this, do that, and trying to talk on the radio and different things. And it's like, don't do that. Don't put me in that car. They're right here. They'll be here in a minute. They gotta be, they're right here. But yeah, it took a while to get there. It seemed like an hour, but it was like 6 or 7 minutes.
Were you the most senior guy there?
No. One of my FTOs was there.
Okay.
He had like 2.5 years more than me, 3
But
years.
Everyone was all amped up and you were the calm one?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Surprisingly, Brett, the guy who shot through the windows that just got found guilty, he was calm. People see what he did and they think there's no way he was calm. But man, if you watch the video, you'll see it tomorrow of when they bring the suspect out. He's alert. Okay, there's somebody down inside. We got to do this. We got to do that. Pulling behind the car so we stay out of line. I mean,
wow.
All his tactics were right. And then he's over here talking to somebody, and they question the shooter, and he hears it, and he readdresses him because the lieutenant didn't. He's like, "Wait a minute. So who shot?" And he was like, "Well, she did because she was scared." Well, he shot. And so he picked up on that. So he was calm too. Maybe a couple of the other ones were that I couldn't see, holding perimeter, but I know the guys around me were amped because they kept going, "John, it's okay. Stay with me." And I was getting aggravated. I'm like, "I'm fine." Yeah, in my mind, I'm going, "Oh," I appreciated it.
Yeah.
But it was like, "I'm good. Just do your job." That was it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't put fault. I don't know how I would act in those situations. I'm pretty jacked
If
up.
they just shot me like a couple inches over, I probably wouldn't have the same reaction. But thigh was okay.
What's the status of Brent? Because is he just pending sentencing?
Yeah, April. So they're trying to get a new trial
Good.
because there was some sketchy stuff.
This was like the third or fourth one, right?
Third, yeah.
There was a state and two
State
federal.
was acquitted. The first federal trial was a hung jury, 10 to acquit, 2 for guilty. And then this one, they finally got him. But the judge changed from the first trial to the second. She was pretty fair down the aisle. Didn't allow on both sides, allowed. This one was like, no allow on this side and let the feds do whatever. Like there's 2 cell phones that have never been given to investigators that the FBI had that were on scene, that the bad guys had, that they will not release what's on them, what calls were made from them that night. And they tried to get that in court because that could be exculpatory evidence.
Yeah. How
And judge wouldn't allow it. The FBI was like, we're not giving it up.
how's that make it even fucking fair? I don't understand it. Oh, poor guy, man. That's rough. So it's
You definitely, when you're on this side of it, you see and you wonder, I'm sitting back going, I always thought it was BS, but how many innocent people are in prison?
Really?
I mean, I saw the way the feds played the game and they were dirty as all get out. They were like most defense attorneys are that you can't stand.
And
Wow.
have you worked with, or is this a completely different group of guys that did the investigation with the FBI?
No, I had never worked with them.
Okay.
And the DOJ attorneys were from DC, Civil Rights Division. They came in and ran the whole case.
So it wasn't.
No,
Like,
yeah.
That's a scary shit to think about.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times
Man.
are you going to go to trial?
And had he not had the insurance through the FLP, I mean, it is true that they stretch it and play it so long. I think they've got almost $2 million invested in these trials.
The FOP or the feds?
The FLP.
Damn, dude.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
like,
let's try to run you out of money.
That's it. They, like they say, the punishment is the process is the punishment.
Yeah.
Until people give up, they finally get to the point where like, what plea? Just give me a plea deal. I'll
Yeah,
take it. Just get this over with.
Because when was that shooting?
March 13th of 2020.
And so he's been dealing with this for 5 years now, roughly?
Yeah, and they wanted to do the sentencing on March 12th, which is when we did the brief. The judge wanted to do it then, and it made news, and so then she pushed it back to April. Like, was she trying to make a statement?
Yeah,
it's just
like,
really weird.
That's
Everything's just been so weird that you think, man, this is the system I fought for. I
Right.
mean, you question things.
Yeah, that's rough.
They did.
To even think about, because I mean, I don't know. In my world, I look at outside the shooting, but you start looking like dope work. It's in my mind, it's a game. Like sometimes you get away, sometimes we catch you, but like we are still abiding by the rules and the laws of the land, and yeah, that's just taking place. That's fucking, it's dirty.
Yeah,
That's insane that they retried it 3 times federally.
twice
Twice
federal.
federal.
Yeah, 1 state and then 2 federal.
That's outrageous. I mean, I've had lockdown cases where the feds won't touch it, and I'm like, "This is a lock, man." They're like, "No, it's not. We won't win it. I don't want it."
100%. Or good cases that were
But they'll take this.
that they knew they would win. Dude, it's a 7-time convicted felon with guns and dope, and they're like, no, doesn't fit our little chart. We're not. But a guy shooting through a window that hit no one,
Yeah.
and you can try to put him in prison for life. It makes you go, ugh. It's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, with that, and he got charged with like a civil rights violation
Yeah.
that resulted in death.
No,
No,
not
I'm-
that resulted in death, just
Oh,
civil
okay.
rights violation. So they charged him with civil rights violation on the 2 neighbors that the bullet went through their apartment into theirs. They were victims. And then you had Kenneth Walker and Breonna Taylor in that apartment that they charged. They were victims. So they had 2 separate charges of civil rights violations for 2 apartments. So the jury came back and they found the people that were alive. First of all, Kenneth Walker quit cooperating with the feds because he's selling dope now in Texas. So he said, F you, I'm not coming back to town. I'm done with it. He already got his $2 million payout from the city and he's gone. So they came back. They kept coming back saying, we can't, it's going to be a hung jury. We can't come to a decision. The judge kept making go back and try, go back. So now it's Friday night at 9:00. Go back. Whatever that charge is called that the judges read and make them go do it. So they came back and she said, can you come to a decision on any of the charges? And they were like, yes, one of the counts. And so she's like, all right, well, let's do that one. So they found to violate somebody's civil rights, they have to be alive, right? That's part of the thing in the civil rights.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they got to be. I mean, if they're dead, you're not violating anything. So they came back and they said, yeah, we can do one. And they found the neighbors that the bullets went through that were alive, not guilty or acquitted of those. So I thought, okay, good. It's going to be a hung jury, right? That's the worst that's going to happen, hung jury. So they come back out. They go, okay, we can't come to a decision on this one. She said, well, do it again. And so they asked a question before they went out. They said, how do we know if she was alive or dead? Because that's one of the things that you have to meet, criteria. And the judge said, "You just assume she was alive."
Ooh.
Again, that's another mistrial type thing.
Yeah.
And so they went back. They came back out. 4 of the jurors were crying, and they said guilty. They got to go home.
Damn. Is that they're appealing that before sentencing?
No,
Or?
they can't appeal until sentencing.
Oh, yeah.
They filed for a new trial based on some of the misconduct.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
But you can't file for an appeal until
When will he know if that's gonna?
don't know.
God, man. And he's in jail right now.
No.
Oh,
She
okay.
let him stay out till sentencing.
All right. That makes me. I mean, it still sucks, but
Yeah.
it makes me feel a little bit
Hopefully
better.
Trump will give him
Maybe. Hopefully, that'd be. I don't know how. I don't know. Yeah.
Ideally, he would like to be acquitted.
Yeah, for
Right.
sure. Yeah.
I just don't see how they find that on the people that
It makes no sense.
it's the same
Same scenario, same
violation,
charges.
right.
So if I shoot here, not against you, but yes against you. What?
right. It's the same thing. Like, okay, you're right. Judge said assume she's alive. So, but these two people were alive.
Yeah,
Shot
that's,
you found you acquitted. It's the
Yeah.
same. Why isn't this one
Well,
acquitted?
you can't make it make sense.
But yeah, at 9:00 at night on Friday, they want to go home and not.
That's it.
I'm sure that trial was lengthy too.
Like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, I get those people that say, I don't care. I'm going to sit here until you make the right decision.
Yeah.
Hold off. But and I've never been on a jury, so I don't know. Guess you feel that way. If some people, it's crazy to me though.
Law enforcement, first responders, military veterans, we see things and put our body through stuff that no one else in society has to deal with. We are good at coping with it mentally, but it still takes a toll on our body. Hormone replacement therapy is a great way to keep your body functioning as it should. And I'm not talking about walking around looking like you're Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just the typical body that we need to function in society with mental health, mental clarity, performance in all aspects of life. I have several family members and friends that have turned to hormone replacement therapy in order to produce a better life for themselves and their family. We are thrilled to partner with HPTRT, veteran and first responder owned company that knows what we are looking for and what we need. They actually care about the first responders, they actually care about veterans. They know what we're going through, and they are willing to help us in any facet of life. Not only with the hormone replacement therapies, but also medical doctors that have partnered with major pharmacies across the country and willing to do any type of telehealth that you need. If you're feeling sick and you want to lay on your couch and do a teleconference, they will send medications to major pharmacies that they have partnered with. So if you need any type of medical assistance, from hormone replacement therapy all the way up until you just feel like shit and need some telehealth, HPTRT is the place to go. Use code RED, R-E-D,
to get 10%.
How's he doing?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
He's more optimistic than I'd probably be. Yeah. He's kept his spirits up.
Good.
Yep.
What you talked to anyone that was involved in that incident at all, or just
I talked to him. Yeah, everybody except like one guy. That's it. And none of us. There was only a couple of us that were like friends.
Okay.
The other, I mean, I was work friends with all of them, but that I would ever do anything with. There's only 2 of them.
With the violation of the civil rights, what kind of like time is he looking at if he was to be
Up
sentenced?
to life.
Holy shit!
Yeah, judge's discretion, I guess.
So it's like 0 to life.
Mhm.
Oh,
It's a free wide
fuck,
range.
yeah.
No kidding.
So I'm afraid she's going to meet in the middle somewhere, 15, 20, something like that.
Or somebody didn't die from that action. I think it ended life and nothing.
And I'm thinking, how come then every time we pick these guys up that are shooting in crowds or shooting in cars and buildings,
Yeah, why
how come they're never charged?
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
You took that to the feds, they laugh at you. They go,
Right.
That's a wanton endangerment. Why are you bringing that to me?
It's almost like a carte blanche charge if they wanted it.
Yeah.
Like if they wanted to pick it, they'd be like, yeah.
Well, they can do it to almost any police officer on most shootings. Because how many hit the target every single time?
Right.
How many miss a little bit?
Damn, man. What?
I would not charge. I'm I missed. I hit her once because he dove out of the way. She jumped into the line of fire, and I think I hit her left arm or left leg. I can't remember.
How come he was the only one that was charged?
They said we had a right to defend ourselves. He didn't because he couldn't see the threat as he was shooting.
Interesting. That's a fucking weird take on that. Scary. It's fucking scary in general.
But it causes a lot of people to hesitate and second guess.
Yes. I mean, scary on both ends. Scary on both ends. If I do make this decision and then it is the right decision because I'm getting shot at. And
Yeah, that seems like some horrendous case law.
yeah. Or now I'm going to be hesitant because I don't want to be involved in the situation and I'm going to fucking get shot or something. It's bad on both ends of the spectrum.
And they can pull so many examples of local and federal agents that have shot through doors and shot through windows that you can't see. Because my whole argument was, okay, if I'm clearing a house and I come up to a bedroom and go to open a closet door and somebody shoots through it, am I not allowed to shoot back through it to get out?
Yeah, I would.
I can't see what's behind that door. So now where are the lines?
Yeah.
Because they're very blurry.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if I was a fucking piece of if I was a bad guy and I wanted to kill someone, cops, and they're coming through my door, I would just hide behind the door because they can't shoot me then, theoretically. You know what I mean? Like, you would set a precedent that would be horrendous for law enforcement. It would be an awful.
Well, they've already set that precedent of all they got to say is, I thought I was getting robbed. Doesn't matter how long you announce yourself. Doesn't matter what you're wearing. Doesn't matter that they are a career criminal or a known dirtbag, and you've got all these years of professional experience out here, 140 years. They take that guy's word over all these guys. Amazing.
Wasn't there text messages saying that he knew it was the cops or some shit like that?
So,
or the neighbors or something?
On scene, there was a courtesy officer that lived there in the apartment complex that went to middle school and high school with him, friends with him, which is a little shady in itself. And admitted to talking to him on the phone, seeing him there, talking to him. Well, Kenneth called his mom as soon as it happened, right? It's the first call he made. He didn't call 911 until 6.5 minutes after this incident happened. But if you watch the news, you'd think he called 911 while we were at the door going, I don't know who's at the door. No, this was 6.5 minutes later. So he called his mom first, so she came to the scene. Well, this courtesy officer heard the shots, turned the radio on, heard a cop was shot there, put his uniform on, came down. Mom sees him and knows him from middle school, high school, friends with her son, walks up to him, and under oath, what he says is she came to him and said, or not under oath, but he had the Miranda rights given to him when he had to give a statement. He said, she came up to me and said, he called and said, they're at the door. And she said, who's at the door, baby? He said, it's the police. I got to go, and hung up. And they never investigated that. They never called her in. They never pulled her phone records. They didn't do any of that. Or if they did, the FBI wouldn't share it with us.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's like I go back, I look, and in my head I'm thinking in case all this guy says, oh, I think I'm being robbed. Wait, it shouldn't matter. What's a reasonable person think? What would somebody in a normal circumstance that's not a dirtbag drug dealer, if cops are announcing, knocking on doors, wearing uniforms, how do you go with that? To saying, oh, he claimed he thought he was getting robbed. That doesn't make
Or
sense.
simply call 911.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They knew we were there. It's
exactly.
not that hard.
Go outside. They're waiting for you. Come on out.
Which was way too long. But we gave him a minute.
But I mean, to see that now, even this evidence didn't go in that he told somebody, he knew the cops were there.
Yeah.
Mike's an attorney also. I forgot to mention that.
Oh,
so he's a cop and an attorney.
nice.
So he probably has some of that spec. Yeah, for his mind's wondering. The warrant officers in that case, was the warrant bad or were they fabricating facts on that?
One line.
Okay.
One line that they lied about, even though
blatant lie, like outright lie.
I think, yeah.
Okay.
Because they knew the truth, even though it still got the elements, they worded it wrong on purpose, which was dumb. So they've got pictures of him come to her house, going in empty-handed, coming out with United States postal packages, going straight to the trap house because they had tracker on his phone, ping on his phone, tracker on his car, poke cams up. So they're watching this happen in real time, right? Coming in, boom, click, 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 straight to the trap house. So they asked me to call somebody when they were doing the investigation. Only part of the investigation I had anything to do with, and I didn't even know the case. They just said, hey, can you find out if this guy's getting packages here? And I was like, well, who's it through? And they said, the postal. I said, no, I don't have any connections with postal, but I can hook you up with the department that does. So I hooked them up. They did their thing. I ran into one of the guys that on that department. I said, hey, did you ever get back with them on that postal thing? And he said, yeah, we figured out it's the wrong guy. They're both Glovers, J Glovers, but it's a different one that we had packages on. He doesn't have anything suspicious going to that house that we know of. So I went back. I said, hey, do you know that's not the same Glover. There's no suspicious packages going there that they know of. And he was like, yeah, I know. Now I got to write all these warrants and do all this stuff. So instead of in the warrant, because they had plenty of probable cause, instead of in the warrant simply saying, we observed him, we've got it on video, picking up a package, going straight to the trap house, this is indicative of drug trafficking, and explaining it, they said, it's verified through the postal inspector that he was getting packages at this house. Okay, so that throws a wrench in everything. That stupid line, why'd you put it? Now, you had some inexperienced people on that platoon because it was their very first case. All but one person was pulled from a jump out squad that got disbanded and put into this unit. First case they'd done, first big investigation they'd done other than jump out stuff, and mistakes were made.
That's
It's almost like Murphy was in this whole investigation before and after.
Yeah,
Everything was just, you know, any op you do, something goes wrong, right? Nothing goes exactly like you planned, but man, you had stuff going wrong before, during, after, and it just all collaborated together to make a huge mess.
But this didn't make national news right away, right?
No, because COVID was prevalent. This was March 13th. That's the day they shut everything down for the 2-week spread. So it was the president on TV, governor, the mayor, everybody's on TV all day, toilet paper, all that crap. And so we got pushed aside, and I thought, good, this might, because I knew what was going to happen. Unarmed black female white cop, right? It's going to be ugly. So I thought maybe we skirted it. But then once Ahmaud Arbery happened, Ben Crump got on that case. The civil attorney for Breonna Taylor's family had done an internship with Ben Crump, had a relationship, called him and said, hey, can you help us here? So they conflated those two cases together, that white guys are out here hunting black people down. Then George Floyd happened, Ben Crump was on that. And then when you put them all three together, we just all got wrapped up in the same net.
Arbery was the one like in Georgia, but it wasn't cops, all right?
No.
Okay.
Just what it is.
Yeah.
Like one used to be a constable or something back in the day, but no ties to law enforcement.
But still fit their stories.
That
whole police into it.
Yep. Well, it's kind of like Trayvon Martin. Every time you hear a police shooting, they throw Trayvon Martin's name in. Like,
that was just
dude. That was just a civilian.
Yeah. But having to be a security guard or some bullshit.
Like neighborhood watch.
Neighborhood watch.
Why are you connecting that with the police? But yeah, they throw that in there every time.
With his 14-year-old picture.
Right.
Yeah. Kind of like Breonna with her EMS uniform from 2017. Because she never even got off probation, got fired in 2017. But in 2020, they're saying she was an EMS worker. You know, we killed one of our own. You're like, what? No, she got fired.
It's just crazy to me. Like, it's scary.
It is.
How
but what we talked about earlier, getting out and framing the story yourself.
Yes.
Setting the narrative.
Yeah.
The department didn't do it. City didn't do it.
There we go.
Well, I know we've talked about union stuff before, but that's what most unions should be doing.
Our union was horrible.
I'm so surprised.
Too busy going on their drinking trips.
Yeah.
Out east, take politics out of it. Those are the unions they do a hell of a job. I feel like you go out east, like New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, those guys, those unions, like, I don't know, have the balls to go out there and say like and stand up to administrations and politicians. But that doesn't carry everywhere for some reason. I don't know.
I would imagine there's probably because they're like old school union dudes. Like they're like, that's all a legacy of being a union worker. You know? And like they probably have more of that in Midwest. I don't think we have that as much.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, at minimum, those, I don't know, the administration or your administration in that situation not saying anything, just like going dark is crazy.
Because when it came out, they had the wrong house. You know, that was going national. You know, Kamala Harris, LeBron James, all those people putting that stuff out.
Real smart people.
Yeah. And so I called my major and said, can you please at least, because, you know, we couldn't talk. I said, can you at least put the cover sheet of the warrant out to show there was the right address and her name's on it and her card and her everything, her phones, everything's on it. They said, no, we don't want to set precedent for future cases.
But now that's like that's like the precedent. So them failing to do it, now every department in this country tries to beat that out there, or you know,
so. If we had to be the case for that happening, good. You know, whatever.
No, it's still awful.
Oh, still makes me mad. They still have never said one.
Still to this day.
To this day, not one. They wouldn't give me a Purple Heart. They wouldn't give the guys that saved me life-saving awards. It was all too political. And you're going, I see what side you're on. I mean,
how many years you did?
Their own side.
21.
Yeah.
Like it's just a kick in the balls for like 21 years of service.
And what those guys at the top don't realize is they're dispendable too. You know,
Yeah.
they're gone. It's the system they're protecting, not them.
They don't realize that. Though.
No, they don't.
Yeah, I think they're top shit, king dog,
Right.
But
Yeah.
they're going to be replaced. The next person's going to come up
Yeah.
and knock you off.
System's
You're
gonna keep
forgot
going.
about.
Yep.
But the system doesn't.
But that's why the public doesn't trust police, because not only do we not put that stuff out, but then there's been that whole culture of soft landings, right? Cover-ups, whatever you want to call it, where they won't release a story until maybe the press gets a hold of it, pressures them, and then we had to fire this guy, or he's on administrative leave. Instead of just getting out in front of stories and going, hey, our guy screwed up. This is what happened. We're taking care of it. We fired him, or he got charged, or because then in cases like mine, they would have a track record of doing the right thing. And then they'd be able to come out and go, no, this is what happened here. And they would have credibility, but they don't, because there's been so many cases where the investigative reporter has to uncover something. Then the public looks at the cops and go, hey,
Oh, you were hiding
dirty
something.
cops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's already negative. Even if what it comes out is not bad.
Right.
They're like, oh, they're hiding it. So they're dirty.
So just be transparent. You talk about transparency, but they're not.
Right.
How do we rectify that on both ends? How do we rectify that with society? How do we rectify that with the administrations being transparent in good and bad situations?
Well, I think you're going to have to just have guys with some balls. Like, I look back and I kind of kick myself on the tail, because I could have gotten promoted easily, right? I know the guys that got promoted around me, and I'm like, oh, a bunch of idiots, man. But I enjoyed police work so much and hands-on, I didn't want to take the sergeant's test. And I kind of got pushed into it by my boss going, she said the same thing. Look who's getting promoted around you. I said, yeah, a bunch of idiots. So I took the test. But I knew at a sergeant level, I could still do police work. You know, once you take that lieutenant's test, you're behind the desk, you're pushing paper. I didn't want to do all that. But looking back, I'm like, I could have affected maybe some change. We need the good guys, the guys who are boots on the ground, who understand the game, to be able to get promoted and make some changes, because the guys are usually, there's nothing wrong with these guys, but your school resource officers, your community relation cops that take these tests and get promoted because they got all the time in the world to study. And they get promoted, then they get in those positions, and they've never been under the gun. They've never been, accused of stuff they didn't do. So then when it comes down, they panic, or they don't know how to handle it. And instead of, police departments are dumb. Ferguson went through this stuff back in the day. Baltimore went through some of this stuff back in the day. How come we're not reaching out going, hey, how'd you handle that? What mistakes did you make? What should we do different? It's recreating the wheel every single time one of these incidents happen. It's just dumb. We don't do that on tactics, right?
No, yeah.
When a new tactic comes out, we did. But our SWAT went to the surrounding call out, or the breach and call out. Well, they tried to get all of us narcotics units and flex platoons and all that to jump out guys to do that. And the chief's office said, no, we don't have the time to do it. We don't want to put the money into it. So we just kept doing dynamics, because it's all we were ever trained on. Dynamic. Everything was dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't need to be. Looking back, that was an error from the top, because they didn't want to spend a little money. And look what it cost them.
Yeah, I don't know. Tom Rizzo is one of my good friends, and we talk often, and I don't know the promotion process or what needs to be changed, but I'm a firm believer that your rank and taking a written test is not the answer.
Mm-hmm.
I think that your performance base has to weigh in there, what you've done in your career, what kind of arrests you've made. Because if now I'm leading a group of men and women and they come to me with answers or questions and I don't have the answers because I haven't done that, and I don't have to do everything, but you kind of have to get your feet wet and getting drug arrests, getting in pursuits, doing these things in order to lead by example and by experience, not just because you were able to take a test and you've been here for 30 years. I know some agencies have gone to some performance-based stuff accompanied with the ability to take tests and the time on, but I don't know.
I think some peer reviews, some boss reviews, and they can be anonymous.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have that percentage of plus minus where somebody's got a vindictive for you. So they're going to say bad stuff, whether it's true or not. But in the balance, you can look at that and kind of balance it out and go, this dude's a turd.
Yeah.
He hung off the air 3 hours a night, met a girlfriend at the gas station, whatever.
Yeah.
He's not material to be leading anything. It's kind of like, I didn't play football. I played sports. I understand football, but who are you going to pick to be the coach of your team? I would take this guy or this guy because they played college ball. I didn't. I might understand it here, but it doesn't mean I know all the ins and outs of it. And it's the same way on the department. You know, you could take a guy and he gets promoted and oh, we got a vacancy, like you said, in narcotics. Okay, let's put this guy here. And he got a clue. Now, then he's got his ego to check and he won't do it because he don't want to go ask somebody for help because he's the sergeant or lieutenant. He should know it, right?
Right.
And so then we're stuck in this stupid cycle that we can't get out of.
First off, I would never pick him to be a coach of any sport. Maybe him, but not him. But yeah, I mean, I'm, is it honest or mean? Like, but yeah, I mean, the peer review, I like it. I like the concept of someone underneath.
If I work with you, I know what kind of guy you are.
Yeah, exactly. Someone underneath you say like you should be promoted or something along those lines. I think I mean, I like that. I like the ability. I also think that you have to have the ability to work with the current administration. And that's where I feel like sometimes we have administrations that pick guys, not necessarily their buddies, but guys that they know that will.
Yes, man.
Yes. And not necessarily, that's a bad thing in all situations. You also don't want a guy that is your number 3 that can't get along with anyone that's up there. But then I would look at that as a guy, if that department doesn't meet my values and what I aspire to be in law enforcement, then maybe that's not the department for me.
Yeah, I think that's something to think about too, is like, you know, they have to define what you want your leaders to do as an agency. That way I know if I even want to work here or not. You know what I mean? So that would be helpful. Like there's no definitions that are standardized across anything. And I would also throw out there, like, you have to take a psych test to get on the job, right? So why wouldn't you have to take a psych test or some sort of aptitude test to see if you should be promoted?
Right.
And then really, like, the biggest thing that I see is politics play into promotions, you know, like sergeants and like base level a little bit. But once you go up the chain, like, I don't know how your guys' agency works, but you got to get that first step in and then you can go anywhere. Right. So at least for us, and politics play a huge role into it. And it's just disgusting to watch. It's like embarrassing to watch these men jockey for position and be yes men. So like, if you at least had to do some sort of like aptitude assessment to get in the door, at least you could say, yeah, they have the aptitude to lead, you know. And then if you really want to get crazy with it, you could do stuff like double blind packets that you send to someone else or to a board to do the evaluations without names or anything. Just like, here's a packet. You don't know anything about these people, or maybe send it to another agency and be like, grade these people out. You know, something like that. That would have error like problems too. But if you could blind out, so like, I don't know that you're wanting to get promoted. I just see a packet here and yeah, it looks good. Or no, absolutely not.
They partially do that. So you take the written test and that ranks you. And then you got to go take the orals, right? Scenario-based stuff, which was a joke because it's nothing what you would do in reality. It's all this stuff they want to hear. And so what happens is guys travel the country from other departments to go. So they don't know you, so they're not involved. So you got, like in ours, you had somebody from Baltimore, somebody from DC, somebody from Arizona, like 7 members on this panel reviewing your oral on tape, because you had to answer all this stuff on tape. You had X amount of minutes to write down your answer, and then you could either read it off, or if you kind of remembered, you could spit it out. And so they want to see how you communicated, I think. But that packet with it would help with the reviews and to kind of give you a balance of, okay, I'm looking at this guy and hearing him talk, but it's nothing like all this feedback I'm getting from everybody he worked with, you know, and give that a different kind of balance might help.
I didn't realize your department did that. That's a lot of major departments do that? Really?
Yeah, it's a common thing.
You're from a bigger department. I'm shocked that they don't do something like that. If I'm just saying.
I mean, if you made a blind packet, like, that would eliminate age, race, gender, sex, like all those things would be thrown out the window because you don't have any of that information. You just have the person, you know, like, strip it all out. Like, if it doesn't matter, just get rid of it all. Those things are irrelevant anyway, right?
Yep. No, I like it.
Yeah, it's common sense. No common sense.
Yeah, that would be a lot better if they did stuff like that. But I think the politics one's the one that bothers me most. I get what Kenny's even saying, like, it's maybe not so much their buddies, but people that are going to be there and be yes men, but also being somebody that's going to work with their plan or whatever they have. I get that, because you're not going to promote somebody who's like, yeah, I don't feel that way. I'm not going to be trying to implement those. And, you know, if you're trying to be more proactive or be more woke or something, you know, that you got guys that are going to fit that profile. I said again, that you know, so you know, they're gonna fit those factors, and I get it. Like, you're not, you know, if you guys are, you know, you guys work the, you know, the squads that you're busting bad guys, chasing people down, you're in the heart of it. And if they want somebody that's going to be more, hey, let's go have coffee with a cop and go talk to this and, be more of the community police, it's probably not going to be the one I'm going to put in my command staff if that's where I'm going. And then I'm not going to go to that person that's, the kitty cop that's, walking around shaking hands and, doing all that stuff. If I'm going for more of a proactive approach and want, some guys and girls that are going to go out there and stop cars and look for bad guys. So I get that whole, it's whoever's at the head of it, whatever reason they're out there, it's their choice.
It's kind of like life, though, right? We got to have balance.
Yeah.
Anything out of balance, message up. Too much working out, message up. Too much, if you can't, if you're neglecting your family and stuff,
No,
it's a bad thing.
There's things to everything.
Good things can become bad things.
Yeah.
And I think that's how the police department is. We've become so unbalanced at the top with very few with the mission. It's the protect the agency mission, but not the mission of policing. And that's a big issue for all the boots on the ground who are putting their life on the line every single night, stopping cars, chasing people, knowing those guys at the top don't have the same mission you got. Right. That's a bad combination.
Yeah. I agree there. I think that if you have a good working balance where you have, guys that were go-getters that are in administration, then you have guys that were SROs, but it's the good balance and they kind of equal each other out. But if you have an entire administration that neglects any aspect of law enforcement, that aspect that's still there, that element that's still in law enforcement is going to be the one that gets thrown to the side, thrown to the wolves, thrown under the bus when bad things happen. And just with the current climate, it's the proactive of policing pretty much. It's not, I don't know.
I think a huge question, a great question too for people getting promoted that I never got asked was, why do you want to be promoted? Because a lot of those guys are climbing that rank that fast, trying to get up there. It's for their next career. It's okay. I was a major, so now I can slide to a small chief's job, or I can, go to some company and run their security, or, there's always an agenda.
Title, yeah.
There's always an agenda. It's not always just because you love the job and career. Guys like us, we love the job, right? I mean, we're kind of made for it. Then you got guys that, and you can tell the ones that weren't really made for it, that climbed the rank and a little soft, and
Do you miss being out of it?
I miss being in it.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah. Now that you're out of it,
No, at times, the further I'm away from it, the less I miss it.
Okay.
And I'm kind of glad but that being said, if the right opportunity came along, I wouldn't turn it down, but it would have to fit.
Yeah.
I'm not putting the uniform back on and answering calls. It's just not happening.
What do you miss most about it? Is it the guys, the work?
100%.
Yeah.
The adrenaline.
Yeah.
The free fixes. That you didn't have to do drugs. You just went to the next door. Just the guy with the gun that said he ain't going back to prison. You're like, oh, this is gonna don't know how this is going to end. Here we go.
For sure. Yeah. Mike's almost, that can be done in a few months, and I'm coming towards the end of mine. And those are things that I look at and I'm like, man, I don't know. Like, I love finding drugs. I love arresting bad guys. It's something that but I don't know.
Filling the void's dangerous.
Yeah.
Retire. Because you're gonna fill it with something, right? Either good or bad. And a lot of guys, that's why they become alcoholics and cheating on their wives or gamble all their money away or do stupid stuff, because we're addicted to adrenaline. We just are.
Yeah.
And so you're looking for that next excitement. That next thing is gonna push the envelope just a little bit to give you that feeling inside that you had for so many years.
Does speaking fill that for you? Do you get like amped up when you're going in there to have that?
It's a different kind of feeling.
Okay.
But not the same. Nah.
Are you embracing that a little bit more? Are you traveling more, teaching more, speaking more? Yeah.
I am. I really don't want to be a teacher. That sounds dumb.
Okay.
I don't mind speaking. More, but motivation. There's learning.
That's
It's got to have a.
Yeah, that's
you got the hook, and then you got to have the thing that you can take something away from it, or it's just wasted time. It's a cool story, whatever. Cool stories everywhere. Everybody's got a story. So yeah, that part of teaching. But I mean, I don't want to go and teach search warrant classes and CI classes. That's just not me.
No. Yeah, I meant like just the.
I might have to do it for money, but I don't want to.
Just that learning moment from your story and everything that you went through.
I don't mind going talking to chiefs and stuff about leadership.
Okay.
Because I've done that a few times. I'm just very honest and blunt, and probably offends them, but I call it like I see it.
Yeah, I'd rather you. I would rather you tell me to my face if something's right, wrong, or indifferent
Oh,
than
100%.
feed me some bullshit and then you go and tell the next guy like this place is a fucking disaster because of that guy.
Yeah.
Anthony, like, how much longer you got, or what are your plans at the end of your?
Well, it was to kind of roll into my CrossFit gym because before 2020, it was doing pretty well, and I could have stepped into that as another career. Once that hit, like man, that dude, COVID 2020 just fucked up so much stuff for so many people that it's outrageous. So like on the back end of that, I lost about half my membership at least, and then it was like, all right, I can rebuild this thing, but dude, it took 8 years to do that. I was like, I don't have the bandwidth to try to rebuild this thing and still work on the job, and I'm not ready to quit yet. And so I was like, luckily I sold it and I got out from underneath that, and it worked out pretty well. But yeah, but now I don't really have a plan. So it's like 17 years. It's like, well, how long do I want to do this thing? And that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I've been kicking around going back to school actually and doing some counseling and getting into that. So I don't know. We'll see.
I got a buddy who does that. He was a state trooper, and he was fighting all these demons and kind of derailed his career because of it, the anger issues and that kind of thing. And so he went to school, and he's a PhD now and doctor, and that's what he does.
One of our good friends, he went to St. Francis, right?
Sean?
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So he's a psychologist, and then he's my friend. So, but he's a guy that I vent to. So when I have problems, I'm like, hey, can you just listen to me talk? And we always have that conversation. Like, if you think, I know you can't treat me, but if you think I need to go talk to someone else, you'd be like, hey, you need to go talk to someone else. And then as a friendship level, we keep it kind of like that. But it's a nice way to clear my mind and get things out of my head without having to go sit in front of someone that has no concept of who I am and what I do. So it's nice having that relationship.
It's good you got that.
Yeah, so he's helped me out a lot.
And I think that's another thing is that it doesn't get addressed. It's like, I know your department has started, but like that just talking to someone, having somebody available, like we have these, we shoot a couple times a year that we got to pass, we got to do this mandated training, do whatever it is, driving, but we never check on both either mental health or physical health. Like we're not continuing. You get out of the academy and you never have to take a PT test again.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You get as fast. We don't keep an eye on mental health and be like, hey, go talk to this person, just a quick eval, just be like, make sure everything's lined up and working
scared to
good.
death because like EAP will report you and then they take your badge and gone.
Right.
So guys are scared to do that.
Like there needs to be a protect, like, hey, I get it. There might, if reporting if you're going to hurt yourself or somebody else, but coming in and just saying, hey, I just need to get some stress off me. I just need to talk about it. Here's what's going on. That needs to be happening more often because they're just, now we're not taking care of it. And you don't see like the leadership, the admins addressing it for the most part anywhere. I just happen to know that Kitty's department does it, got a grant for it. And as far as I've heard from guys, it's wonderful. Like just to go out and just, let them know what's going on. And
our police foundation finally got one of those wellness centers. After 2020, seeing what those guys went through, man, they raised money. They did a heck of a job. Planet Fitness donated all this brand new fitness equipment. So on the front, it's a big gym, workout gym. Then you go in the back, and people don't know it because it's a gym, right? It's the police gym or whatever. But in the back, there's rooms where you can actually go talk to people. So you don't have that stigma of walking past other people or sitting in a waiting room looking at people like, oh man, they're gonna think I'm crazy. So it's really, really good. And a lot of places you're going to like the infrared saunas and then the infrared light therapy into the cold plunge, and those three together, there's something about it. They say that does something to your body up here and physically that just helps reprogram things.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a clinician that you have to go see once a year, right. And you do it on duty. It's on your, and basically it just opens the door and she gives you the avenues. You sit in there for like 30 minutes or whatever, and you could talk, or she just says, these are the things that we have to help you, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like a quick 30-minute conversation. But I don't feel, not necessarily my department, just in general, I don't feel like cops are going to ever open up in those situations because exactly what you said about the gun concept. Like
that and just our pride.
Yeah.
I don't want to look weak.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to look weak in front of my peers. Like I feel like they would be willing to have that conversation with her if there was no
One time,
Long-
30 minutes, one time, you ain't going to do it.
yeah, no, I know, but I'm
It's
saying,
done.
yeah,
Good thought. Looks good.
yeah. I mean,
But
you
it's-
can't force
it's
guys to
legit.
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't force
It's like
shots.
going to the gym once a year, looking at 30,
Yeah.
30 minutes. I'm good. I went to the gym this
Yeah.
year.
I mean, other guys use it. I just feel like I would be willing to open up to her as long as there was not a ramification where she said, you know what, I need to have your gun removed and you need to go sit on the shelf for like a month or something. I think that's where you're not going to get the willingness for guys to truly open up in those
And that's where a
situations.
guy like Trevor, my buddy,
Hmm.
the angry Viking therapist, and this guy, if you do that, if you go that route,
Yeah.
they see it totally different than a civilian who's never done it. It's like,
Exactly.
Well, that's what I was like to see somebody that's actually done the job get into something like that, to sit down and be like, "Hey, man, I get what you're going through. I understand it. Here's what I've been there, and now here's what I've learned to offer you to deal with it. It's just." I mean, it should be more than once a year you're mandated, but if you guys can go see her more often,
Yeah,
if you want, right?
we
but
just
like
have to go
that
on.
stigma there, and I get the stigma, where they're like, "Oh, I'm too proud to do that. I'm a tough guy. I don't have to have a motive." Like that needs to be removed in itself. Like, hey,
I think that's slowly
we're
coming
building,
around.
and I
Yeah,
see it more.
I don't know
more
if it's
often.
a softer society.
Right?
I mean, honestly,
Mhm.
I mean,
And I just see it as more
Mhm.
something. I think, they saw some good come out of it from somebody or somebody else that they're like, hey, that's not so bad anymore.
how about the academy just start teaching us some coping skills for this
100%.
career?
Yeah.
It might be the best start.
That and interpersonal communication.
Yes.
How many times do guys get into stuff because they just don't know how to talk to people?
Communication is
And I
huge.
sit back and I'm going, oh my gosh, dude, how ignorant are you?
Well, they gave me
Like,
4 hours of
wife and kids.
verbal judo, so I'm good to go.
Oh,
No, that's not the shit that I need to know.
The
You mean
verbal
how to
judo
get
is a
back and
joke,
forth.
anyways. That's the dumbest thing. Like, just talk to him like he's another fucking person, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
New circuit to go.
No, they do that shit, and it's just like, no, tell me how to have that communication.
Like the
thing.
broken windows effect, then community policing.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like,
Yeah.
culturally, they're saying.
I think, I mean, I think even beyond, like, if you just give cops that are going to be a cop the actual depiction of what you're going to see and what you're going to deal with, like, you're going to see dead people. You're going to, you know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times we protect that image for whatever reason. Like, we don't want them to leave. So we're not going to be like, yo, you're going to see dead people. You might see people get shot. You're going to see fucking people mangled in cars. You might see dead kids. Like, we're like, no, we don't talk about that. Let them get off probation and then they're stuck. And then we'll tell them all about it. And then they're like, in their mind, they're like, oh shit, we just saw this stuff. We were mentally prepared for what we were going to see. I think, I don't know. I think if you mentally prepare them prior to them getting hired, you bring them in. Hey, this is what you might see this shit. Like, are you okay with this? I don't know.
Did we talk about that?
No.
So that's been a big thing that I've been talking about with other people, is like, you have to pre-frame this stuff appropriately. And I use another football analogy, go figure. On the back of your helmet, like I make my kids that are playing ball like read the helmet warning. It says this is a dangerous game. You get paralyzed or dead. Do you still want to do it? Yes, I do. Okay, because it's really fun and you get a whole lot of cool shit from doing it. Right? So go have fun and go
Do
do
you
it.
have a guy in a wheelchair coming in blowing through his straw so you could be that?
No, but it's very clear. It's like, that there's kids die every year playing football. Do you still want to do it? Yep. Okay. We are taking a risk to do this, and you're framing it appropriately. So now when you get your head, kicked in a little bit and you get a little headache, it's like, okay, was that a concussion? No, you probably just hit your head, but you knew it. So it's not as bad. They're not as scared. So the same thing's true of law enforcement. Like, talking about PTSD and stuff like that. I think you can reduce PTSD by framing things appropriately so their expectations match reality. And I think that's really important to do. Like, yeah, you're going to have all kinds of stuff on this job, and a lot of it's going to be the worst stuff that anyone's ever had in their life happen to them, and you're going to experience it 3 times a shift for 20 years. Like, that's going to happen. Like, that's not an if, it's a when, and like, get ready for it. Here's what it looks like, and that's what we're training you for.
Or how about a sane supervisor on the scene or on the streets when your guy just had to give CPR to a 3-year-old, say, dude, you're done for the night, go home.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Instead of going, all right, get back to work.
Shake it off.
And then you go to this stupid caller's little argument and you explode because what else are you going to do with
Because
this,
you're not
this
dealing with what
stuff
you
you've got
just did.
inside you that you haven't dealt with? Then you smack the shit out of a 16-year-old for running his mouth. Now you're an IA.
Yeah.
Right.
It's horrible.
You're trying to figure out why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not snap on that?
The transition is so weird too. Like, I wasn't in the military, but like, you have to transition from, like, we just had a shooting on our SWAT team the other day, I told you guys earlier about, and I had to transition from that because I was only a direct witness. Like, I watched it happen from here to there, right? But I didn't pull the trigger. So then I had to go debrief, write a report, and then when we were done, I went and visited my one buddy in the hospital, and then had to go right into dad mode, picking up kids, going to practice, pretending like it didn't happen, right? And then homework and bed, and then get ready for the next day. And then I had to go to shift the next morning, So
Your
it's
wife's like, why are you being quiet? That's not being quiet.
but like I do all that stuff, and then, but like, yeah, it's the combination of everything. It's a really weird job, and they don't talk about that at all in the academy. Like, hey, you're going to see your buddies kill somebody, or you might shoot somebody, and then you're still going to have to go like cook dinner.
Yeah,
Go back and right. Life doesn't stop spinning,
From your master's or your psychology experience, what do you think that's doing to us? Is that
it forces you to, it's kind of good and bad, right? Because it forces you to compartmentalize. Like, I couldn't like hang out with, like, what do I want to do? I want to hang out with my dudes and maybe go have some beers and talk about what just happened, and just, like after a game, what did we do? We went and we had a bunch of beers and hung out, and we're just idiot college kids. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to do. But I was forced to then compartmentalize what I saw and what I experienced and what I did. And then I said, I got to go do all these other things. And then you never fully process it.
So are we always just burying that in there?
Always.
So it's never coming out completely.
Yeah,
so you might work through it, but
you never give it a home. I don't think you ever work through it unless you're specifically going and you're making sense of what happened, and you're putting it to where it needs to be for you. Then you're never processing it.
So just buried in
you're
there.
just shoving
You're
it down.
dealing with so many things. When would you have time to process all of it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's just not time.
Right. Unless you make time for it, and then you're getting closer to it. You might not ever actually do it, but
But I think we're pretty resilient as human beings. We can take a lot.
Yeah.
I just think some guys either don't know how to compartmentalize. And, you can talk about the male-female thing, but guys are much better at doing that than females. We just are. Ask your wife. She'll tell you. She's really stressed about this. She's like, babe, we'll deal with that tomorrow because I've already checked out on that. I'm on to the next thing. But yeah, some guys are good at it. Some people aren't. And so I think we're just all built different. That's why you got some guys that want to be on SWAT and some guys that want to be a district resource officer. It's just the way it is. And we need both. So it's fine.
Yeah.
You can be whatever you want. Just like my hands do different things than my feet do, but I want them both.
Yeah.
That's just pretty important.
I think there's a place for all those things to happen in PEs. It's just, I think that's another thing leadership and admins need to take care and know where to put those people. Like, you see somebody that should be, know where they'll be like, okay, they need to go.
Your punter could not have blocked for the quarterback.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Nothing against the punter, nothing against the lineman, but it's just know your role.
But yeah, because I'm on a small PD, so there's not really places you can put many people. But I see it at places that I go and instruct and see bigger departments, and you see it like why is that person in the gang unit? Like, why are they working dope and they look like they're a 16-year-old, not working undercover like in the high school.
Yeah. Not 21 Jump Street.
Right. Yeah. They're out there. I'm like this. No, they don't know those roles, and you see that a lot. I mean, at least I've noticed it in the last few years when I've been traveling more, and it's just like that's one of the things that you got to know where to put people. SWAT guy. I'm going to be the breach in the door. I'm a big guy. You're not going to put the sniper that's 160 pounds up there. So I get it.
I think that as a cop too, that you got to know that that's your role too. Like if I know that I don't have the capabilities as a SWAT guy, that I'm not built like that, I can't now anticipate that's the role that I'm going to get when I haven't put in the work for that. So if you say, hey, I need you to be this, or you can't be all of a sudden offended that you didn't get this spot, but you got that spot. And I think that goes both ways. So the admin needs to know where they can put you, but you as a cop have to be willing to accept the role that you get to and not be offended by that.
And if you don't like it, work to change it.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can always change it. All right. So we end every episode with one question. What is your definition of justice?
Whatever's in the dictionary.
That's a dick answer.
I don't know, man. I thought about that, and I think I ghosted you because I didn't have a good answer. And I was like, man, I got nothing profound to say. Justice is like making things fair or making things right, and like. I don't know if you're looking for justice. I don't know that you're going to find it here. You know what I mean? Like I really don't.
Like I told him, you want justice on him. My view of justice might be different than yours. So
Totally. Yeah.
are you right or am I right? Or neither of us right? And this guy over here's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a tricky one, man.
Yeah.
I agree with the law. Okay, let's put, if you do this, you get this. Then that's not justice, but it's at least an answer to what you did. It's a repercussion. It's a penalty.
Yeah, it's a consequence. It's a punishment. Is it justice? I don't know, maybe.
Because you can put somebody in prison for life for killing your kid, but that's not justice because I'm never getting my kid back.
Right.
Right.
It's not. There's no justice for that.
Right. I like it. It makes people think.
Yeah.
Puts people on the spot too, especially if you don't have the opportunity to prepare.
You know,
yourself.
I mean, you could take it like I look at the term justice as a very like that's, and it's odd for being a cop and saying it, but it's not up to me. It's not up to us. Justice is beyond. Like that's God's job is justice. Like I just don't see justice being a thing that we get here on this planet. And I just don't think it's, if you expect it, you're gonna be very disappointed. You know, it's like you said, like justice. What is justice? Is who's justice? Yeah. You know, like
that might be one of the better answers. I like that actually. The way that the God aspect of it. I think that because if we worry so much about what it is and we're putting our own spin on it, we're never going to be fulfilled. But then if you use that term where it's like society will punish you,
right,
but the justice will come from a higher being than us. I like that. That might.
And then
be
you don't get. I mean, for me, like I don't get wrapped up in like cases I put a bunch of time into, and then they throw them out. Like, hey, justice is not up to me, man. Like this is a consequence schedule based on our laws, but it's not like what is justice? Yeah, like I like that.
I do like that.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for actually joining us in studio.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Drive for 3 hours.
Sorry, you can blame him.
My bad.
All right.